The loudest people rarely win, the builders do. While the world begs for views, likes, and instant applause, the Stoic sharpens his edge in silence. No declarations, no big announcements soon, just clean reps and quiet mastery. Marcus Aurelius didn't debate what a good person should be, he became one. He rose, he worked, he kept his word to himself. That's the game. This film is your blueprint, be so good. They can't ignore you, work in silence. Move with discipline guided by the emperor who wrote his philosophy in a battlefield tent. 10 rules, each one with a quote that grounds you, a drill that changes you, and a metric that proves it. No fluff, no hype, only habits that compound. Because attention is rented, skill is owned, noise is temporary, proof is permanent. When you stop performing for the crowd and start performing for your standards, something shifts your focus, hardens your results. Stack, and the room that once overlooked you turns. If you're ready to trade applause for excellence, vanity for virtue, and motivation for systems, lean in. We're not here to be noticed. We're here to be undeniable. Rule 1 action. Announcement. There is a trap most people fall into, and they don't even realize it. The trap is talking about goals, talking about dreams, talking about the version of themselves they hope one day to become. Why is this a trap? Because the very moment you announce your plans, your brain rewards you with dopamine, the same chemical it would release if you had actually achieved them. You feel accomplished without ever lifting a finger. You've cashed the check before you've even earned it. The Stoics knew this danger 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Words are cheap. Arguments are cheap. Announcements are cheap. What is rare, what is golden is execution, action, consistency, proof. Think of it this way. Imagine a blacksmith. One strikes the iron day after day in silence, shaping the blade until it gleams with power. The other blacksmith, he keeps pausing to tell everyone, "I'm making a sword. It's going to be the best sword you've ever seen." Which one ends up with a weapon in his hand? Which one ends up with nothing but words echoing in the air? Science backs this up. A 2009 study from New York University found that when people announced their goals publicly, they were significantly less likely to achieve them. Why? Because that announcement created a false sense of progress. They got the social reward up front instead of the real reward at the end. It's like eating dessert before dinner. You've stolen the satisfaction before the work was ever done. That's why the first Stoic rule is simple: action over announcement. And here's how to live it. For the next 7 days, run what I call the silent sprint. Pick one outcome that matters. Maybe it's 5 workouts in 7 days. Maybe it's 2 hours of deep work each morning. Maybe it's sticking to your reading habit. Whatever it is, keep it quiet. Don't tell your friends. Don't post it online. Don't announce it at all. Just do it. Each evening, ask yourself one question. Did I complete today's action, yes or no? Nothing else matters. No excuses. No speeches, no applause required. By day 7, you'll notice something powerful, or confidence will no longer depend on other people's validation. It will come from evidence you've built with your own 2 hands. Metrics keep you honest. The rule here is simple: 5 out of 7 completions equals a pass. Not perfection, progress. And here's the data point to track your sense of control. Rate your afternoon reactivity on a scale of 1 to 5. By the end of the week, you should see at least a 20% drop in stress triggered by outside events. Why? Because when you act in silence, you strengthen your authorship. You remind yourself, my proof is in my effort, not in my announcements. The mantra for this rule is short, sharp, and unforgettable. Less promise, more proof. Repeat it when you're tempted to announce, when you're itching to post, when you're craving validation. Say it until it becomes second nature. And here's the deeper truth. People will doubt you. Some will even laugh at you. Others will try to distract you. But you don't owe them a show. You don't owe them announcements. What you owe to yourself is execution. Let your results speak. Let your silence build mystery. And when the time is right, let your achievements roar louder than any words ever could. So start small. 1 sprint, 1 week, 1 proof of concept. Then build. Momentum compounds silently, and before long you won't need to say anything at all, because you'll have become undeniable. And once you've mastered silence, you're ready for the next rule. Rule 2, where we cut off the oxygen that feeds distraction validation. Rule 2, starve validation. It's like sugar for the soul, quick, sweet, addictive, and destructive if you live on it. The moment you crave applause, you hand the steering wheel of your life to strangers. Their nods, their likes, their fleeting approval become the gas in your tank. But the Stoics warned, if your energy depends on others, your life is no longer yours. Seneca said it bluntly, he who seeks wisdom is not governed by the opinion of the crowd. If wisdom is the mountain, the crowd is the fog, cheers, doubts, gossip blowing in every direction. Stare into that fog long enough, and you'll forget why you started climbing. Here's the sting: validation is programmable. The crowd can train you like a dog. Applause becomes the treat. Criticism becomes the shock collar. Suddenly, you're not living by reason, you're living by reaction. You know the feeling. You post something. 10 minutes later, you check. 2 likes flat. 20 likes a little high. But notice what didn't change: your skills, your character, your craft. Nothing improved except your pulse for a few seconds. Epictetus would shake his head and ask, is this what you call freedom, to be ruled by strangers' thumbs? So let's take your power back in a way that actually shows up in your day. Run an audience audit. For the next 7 days, mute or unfollow 15 accounts that trigger envy, comparison, or compulsive scrolling, the highlight reels that make you feel behind. Replace them with 3 accounts that teach skills you can use: philosophy training, writing, coding, anything that builds. The signal gets louder, the noise gets quieter, and the data is consistent. Reduce social comparison even a little, and mood steadies, focus rises, and your day stops leaking through 1,000 tiny holes. Aim for 25% less social time this week. Use the extra minutes to make something: 1 page written, 1 workout logged, 1 hard conversation started. Each evening, jot down a single win you built, practiced, or endured. That simple log rewires the reward system from applause to action. Keep a line ready for your mind when it drifts back to the old loop: approval can't build muscle. Think literally. You can flex in the mirror all day and collect compliments, but your body won't grow. Only the reps change you. The same applies to your craft, your relationships, your soul. Marcus Aurelius put it another way: we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. 2,000 years ago, he was puzzled by this paradox. In the age of feeds and stories, it's only gotten louder, which is why starving validation is not a trend, it's a discipline. Here's the deeper truth most people miss. Validation feels good because it waters the leaves. They shine for a moment, but the roots stay dry. Real nourishment comes from within: habits you keep when no one is watching, promises you keep to yourself, standards that don't bend to crowds. When you starve validation, you force the roots to dig. You build self-respect that doesn't need a spotlight. You become steady in a world that runs on noise. So treat this like a quiet 7-day experiment. Mute the noise, cut the sugar. Reclaim the minutes you've been donating to strangers and invest them where you control the return. Measure what matters: 25% less. Scrolling 7 small wins, recorded 1 calmer mind by the weekend. Feel the difference in your evenings when you built something instead of refreshing something. Feel the difference in your mornings when you don't wake up hungry for a fix. Because here's the promise Stoicism makes, and life keeps: when you stop eating empty approval, you discover a stronger fuel: effort, virtue, proof. And once you taste that kind of strength, you won't trade it for likes again. Starve the sugar, feed the roots, guard your weather. Then when you're ready, we'll go a step further and detach from opinion entirely. That's Rule 3. Rule 3, detach from opinion. Here's a hard truth: the price of growth is often being misunderstood. Epictetus nailed it when he said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because to the world, change looks suspicious. If yesterday you were one way and today you are another, most people don't see discipline or growth. They see weird. Think of it. You wake up earlier, you skip parties, you study when others scroll. Suddenly people whisper, who do they think they are? They laugh at your salad, your book, your refusal to gossip. But every legend once carried that same label: fool, loner, myths, until their results spoke louder than words. And that's why this matters. Opinion is a leash. If you live to correct every misjudgment, you'll be yanked in every direction. One critic says you're too quiet. Another says you're arrogant. A third says you're wasting time. If you answer all three, you don't live, you perform. Marcus Aurelius saw the trap clearly. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, yet care more about their opinion than our own. That paradox is poison. It's like hiring strangers to be judges of your soul. And worse, most of those strangers aren't even judging you. They're projecting their own fear, their own regrets, their own chains. If you take their projection as truth, you shackle yourself twice. So here's the drill practice, the two-breath rule. Whenever criticism comes, an insult, a sarcastic comment, a passive-aggressive text pause. Breathe in, breathe out. That's one. Breathe in again, breathe out again. That's two. And in that tiny space, you reclaim authorship. You choose whether to respond factually calmly once or not at all. Data backs this up. Studies in emotional regulation show that a two-breath pause reduces impulsive reactions by nearly 40%. That's 40% fewer regrets, 40% fewer unnecessary battles, and 40% more dignity preserved. Your metric is simple. Track 10 pauses this week. Each pause is proof that you're not programmable by other people's opinions. Each pause is a line in the sand, I am my own master. And the mantra is equally sharp, their view isn't my view. Let those 5 words armor your day, because remember, the crowd mocked Socrates until he became a philosopher. They mocked Galileo until he proved the earth moved. They mocked entrepreneurs, artists, and scientists until their work made the world kneel. Being mocked is not the danger. Being ruled by mockery is. Here's the paradox. The more you detach from opinion, the more your results eventually force respect. It doesn't happen instantly. First they ignore you, then they laugh, then they resist, and finally they ask, how did you do it? So let them mislabel you. Let them misunderstand. While they waste energy gossiping, you're converting silence into strength. And when the day comes that your work becomes undeniable, their opinion will carry no weight anyway. Detach, guard your peace, and grow anyway. And when you can do that, when you're no longer ruled by other people's perceptions, you're ready for the next step. Because true Stoic strength doesn't just come from detachment. It's forged through deliberate hardship. That's Rule 4, voluntary struggle as training for the soul. Rule 4, choose voluntary hardship. Here's a paradox. The Stoics live by the easy road makes life harder, while the hard road makes life easier. Musonius Rufus, the often overlooked teacher of Epictetus, once wrote, "Practice even what seems unpleasant. It strengthens the soul." He wasn't glorifying suffering, and he wasn't romanticizing discomfort. He was prescribing medicine. Because the truth is simple, the human body and mind adapt to stress, but only if you train them on purpose. Now let's be brutally honest. Modern life is engineered for comfort. Climate control, food delivery, streaming entertainment, social media, we can glide through entire days without encountering real friction. And yet anxiety, depression, and burnout are rising like never before. Why? Because comfort unchallenged becomes fragility. Just like a muscle shrinks when it's never used, the soul weakens when it's never stretched. Marcus Aurelius saw this clearly. He wrote, "It is unfortunate that this has happened." No, it is fortunate that this has happened, and I have remained unharmed by it because it was within my control not to be harmed. Translation: hardship is not a curse, it's a crucible. And here's why voluntary hardship matters so much. Life is going to hand you involuntary hardship, whether you like it or not. Illness, betrayal, financial struggles, loss, none of us escape. If you've never trained with discomfort, those storms will flatten you. But if you've already carried small weights, you're prepared when life drops something heavy on your shoulders. Psychology agrees. A 2017 study on stress inoculation found that people who deliberately practice mild challenges, things like cold showers, fasting, or endurance training, were 30 to 40% more resilient when real crises hit. Voluntary hardship works like a vaccine. Small doses of difficulty build immunity to despair. So here's the drill, the 30-day hardship choice. Pick one daily practice of discomfort and stick with it. Cold showers for 90 seconds, 5,000 steps before you even look at your phone, or a 12-hour eating window to build discipline. It doesn't matter which challenge you choose. What matters is friction. Not unbearable, just uncomfortable. Enough to remind yourself I am stronger than comfort. Your metric is simple, 24 out of 30 days equals a pass. Along the way, track 2 shifts, energy goes up, reactivity goes down. Most people report sharper focus, fewer mood swings, and a deep pride that comes from keeping a promise no one else even sees. Here's a story to anchor it. In 1965, Admiral James Stockdale was shot down over Vietnam and spent 7 brutal years as a prisoner of war. Torture, starvation, isolation, and yet he survived. When asked later how he credited stoicism, he had practiced voluntary hardship long before the war, fasting, walking barefoot in winter, denying himself comforts. He built mental armor before life required it. His wisdom: you must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality. That's the gift of hardship. It strips away illusions. You stop saying, I hope tomorrow is easier, and you start saying, I will be stronger tomorrow. And that's where freedom lives. So here's your mantra: comfort is a cage. Every time you choose comfort, you lock another bar. Every time you choose hardship, you bend one open. That's why discipline equals freedom, not because it feels good in the moment, but because it trains you to endure anything. Tomorrow morning, when the shower knob turns to cold, remember Musonius Rufus. When the phone tempts you before sunrise, remember Marcus. And when hunger pangs whisper during your fasting window, remember Seneca. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor. Voluntary hardship is not punishment. It is preparation. It is the training ground for resilience. Choose it daily. Build a soul that storms cannot break. And once you've mastered that, you're ready for the next step rule: 5 fail forward, where we'll see how even mistakes can become stepping stones instead of verdicts. Rule 5, fail forward failure. Even the word itself carries shame, doesn't it? From childhood, we're taught to avoid it at all costs. Get the grade, win the game, never fall behind. But the Stoics flipped that script completely. Seneca reminded us, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. To them, failure was not a verdict. It was a teacher. Not the end of the road, but the road itself. Think of a blacksmith forging iron. Not every strike is perfect. Some blows are misplaced, some too weak, some too hard. But every single strike still heats the metal, still shapes the blade. Progress comes not despite the flawed strikes, but because of them. Failure is friction, and friction creates fire. Marcus Aurelius captured it best. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your setbacks are not detours. They are the path itself. Modern science agrees with what the Stoics already knew. Angela Duckworth, in her work on grit, found that persistence through failure, not raw talent, is what predicts success in business, education, and athletics. One study showed that students who reframe mistakes as opportunities improve performance by 30%. That's the Stoic truth, and data resilience isn't born, it's built failure by failure. But here's the trap most of us fall into. We confuse failure with identity. We don't say I failed at this. We say I'm a failure. And that's poison. Epictetus dismantled that illusion with one blunt reminder. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because looking foolish is the tuition fee for wisdom. Every stumble is a receipt for growth. So how do you actually fail forward? Here's the practice, the postmortem 123. Step 1, write down what failed. Step 2, ask Marcus Golden. Question: was this within my control? Step 3, extract the smallest fix. Not a dramatic reinvention, just one adjustment. Do this 3 times a week. Your metric 3 loops complete. And here's a bonus metric: reduce your time to restart from days to less than 24 hours. Because the faster you get back up, the stronger your resilience becomes. History proves this over and over again. Thomas Edison tested more than 1,000 filaments before producing a working light bulb. When asked if he felt like a failure, he replied, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Every attempt was not wasted, it was invested. Michael Jordan missed more than 9,000 shots, lost 300 games, failed over and over again. His response: that is why I succeed. Failure wasn't a pit for him, it was a ladder. So anchor yourself to this mantra: miss, measure, modify. Don't hide from mistakes. Don't decorate them either. Measure them. Modify your approach, and then move. Failure is not proof you're broken. It's proof you're trying. Seneca reminded Lucilius, how does it help to make troubles heavier by complaining of them? It doesn't. Complaining freezes you. Action frees you. Here's your assignment for the next 7 days. Write down one failure each day. It could be tiny. You skipped a workout. You lost your temper. You procrastinated. Then run it through the post-mortem 123. Within a week, you'll notice your brain rewiring. Failure stops being personal, starts being procedural. It becomes data, not drama. And here's the paradox. When you stop fearing failure, you actually fail less. Because you're no longer wasting energy on shame, you're spending it on adjustment. So the next time you stumble, remember Marcus. The impediment to action advances action. What blocks you today becomes tomorrow's building block. Failure is not falling down. Failure is refusing to rise. Carry this mindset into Rule 6, master your emotions. Because the truth is, strength isn't just about conquering obstacles or enduring hardship. Real strength is about conquering yourself. Rule 6, master emotions. Most people think strength lives in the body, big muscles, hard punches, loud voices. But the Stoics knew the highest strength lives in the mind. Marcus Aurelius said it plainly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. To master your emotions is to master yourself. And when you master yourself, you become unshakable. Think about the last time anger hijacked you. Maybe it was traffic. Maybe it was someone's careless words. In a single second, your calm was gone. You snapped, you said something you regretted, and later you thought, why did I let that control me? That's the trap. When emotions run the show, you become a puppet. The Stoics taught us to cut the strings. Epictetus warned, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Events don't make us angry, anxious, or jealous. It's the story we attach, and stories are editable. Here's a practical model fact of story, virtue. Fact, the meeting started late. Story, they don't respect me. Virtue, patience. Do you see the shift? The event didn't insult you. The story did. Change the story and you change the state. Modern psychology backs this up. Cognitive behavioral therapy. One of the most effective tools for treating anxiety and depression is built on Stoic insights. Studies show that reframing thoughts reduces emotional reactivity by up to 30%. Seneca would call that wisdom confirmed by numbers. So how do we train? Use this drill 5 reframes a week. Each time you feel an emotional spike, pause, write or voice note 3 lines. What happened? What meaning am I adding? And what Stoic trait, patience, courage, temperance can I choose instead? Your metric is 5 reframes per week. Over time, watch emotional spikes drop, watch clarity rise, and notice that storms no longer blow you off course. Think of a storm. The average person is a leaf tossed around by winds of anger, envy, or fear. The Stoic is the mountain. The storm rages, but the mountain does not move. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, faced betrayal plague. In Where It, he reminded himself, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. That's mountain thinking. History proves this. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. He could have emerged bitter, broken, consumed by rage. But he emerged measured, calm, strategic. His emotional mastery turned prison into preparation. That stoicism in action chains on the body, but never on the mind. So adopt this mantra, be the eye of the storm. Calm doesn't mean weak. Calm means clear. And clarity is what allows courage to act wisely. For the next 7 days, track 1 emotional spike per day. Use fact, story, virtue. At week's end, review your notes. You'll realize half of your suffering came not from events, but from stories you told yourself. And once you see that you gain the power to rewrite them, the goal isn't to feel nothing. The goal is to feel fully, but not be ruled. Anger can become fuel. Fear can become caution. Doubt can become improvement. Emotions aren't enemies. They're energy. And the Stoic decides how to direct that energy. So next time you feel hijacked, breathe. Remind yourself, event is not story, and you control the story. Marcus was right, you have power over your mind. That is your fortress. That is your freedom. And this takes us straight into Rule 7, consistency over motivation. Because even when you master your emotions, if you keep relying on moods to guide your actions, you'll falter. Systems, not feelings, are what create freedom. Rule 7, consistency. Motivation. Motivation is a liar. It shows up when it wants, then disappears the moment you need it most. That's why the Stoics never relied on feelings, they relied on discipline. Cato the Younger lived this truth. While Rome drowned in decadence, he chose hardship, sobriety, and strict routine. He understood what we forget: comfort weakens, but consistency strengthens. Think about New Year's resolutions. Every January, fireworks explode, gyms fill, journals open. And by February, 8 out of 10 resolutions are gone. Why? Because they were built on motivation, on hype, on New Year. New me energy. But motivation is weather, unpredictable, fleeting. Consistency is climate, steady, shaping everything over time. The Stoic doesn't wait for a sunny day. The Stoic builds habits that hold rain or shine. Marcus Aurelius woke up in a cold palace body, heavy, tempted to stay under warm covers. And yet he wrote to himself, "At dawn, remember I am rising to do the work of a human being." He didn't ask for inspiration. He commanded himself with consistency. He treated mornings as duty, not preference. Here's the truth: consistency beats talent, motivation, even intelligence. Psychologist Angela Duckworth calls it grit, the blend of passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Study after study shows grit predicts success better than IQ or wealth. Seneca would have agreed, discipline, not chance, governs greatness. So how do we train this? Use the first rep rule. Don't aim for an hour of writing a full workout or the perfect essay. Just start. One push-up, one page, one sentence. Because momentum beats mood. And science proves it. The hardest part is the first 2 minutes. After that, flow takes over. Your metric: 20 first reps in 30 days. That's 20 days where you didn't wait for motivation, you built discipline. And here's proof it works. Stephen King writes, every morning, birthdays, holidays, no excuses. He doesn't wait for the muse, he just shows up. That's why he's written over 60 novels selling more than 350 million copies. Discipline over inspiration. Or look at athletes like Kobe Bryant, famous for 4 a.m. workouts, not because he felt like it, but because consistency made him undeniable. The Stoics knew small acts repeated daily become destiny. Epictetus said it best, no man is free who is not master of himself. You don't become the master by waiting until you feel like it. You become the master by showing up again and again. So anchor this mantra. Systems keep promises, feelings can't. Feelings are fickle. Systems are loyal. Your system: wake time, study block, workout, ritualis, a silent bodyguard of your goals. Here's your assignment: pick one practice for the next 7 days. Maybe journaling, maybe exercise, maybe reading philosophy. Apply the first rep rule daily. Track it with 7 boxes, 7 days. Your metric isn't how long, it's whether you showed up. And when you look back at that chain of check marks, you'll see confidence you can touch. Consistency is freedom. When you no longer negotiate with moods, you stop wasting energy on should I, shouldn't I, you just act. You build momentum. You become inevitable. Marcus Seneca. Epictetus, they weren't flawless, but they were steady. And steadiness outlives sparks every single time. Carry this forward into Rule 8, strategic silence. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say less and let your actions echo louder than words. Rule 8, strategic silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years ago. Once words leave your mouth, you can never call them back. Epictetus warned, let silence be your general rule, or say only what is necessary and in few words. And in our age of endless noise, tweets, updates, group chats, notifications, that advice is not just wisdom. It's a superpower. Think about it. Oversharing leaks power. The very moment you announce every goal, every struggle, every plan, you open the door for others to doubt you, distract you, or derail you. And science proves it. Researchers at NYU discovered that when people announce their goals, their brains release dopamine, the same satisfaction as actually achieving them. That's why so many talk endlessly but rarely execute. The Stoic flips it. Fewer announcements, more action. Look at Marcus Aurelius. He didn't post daily updates on the wars he fought or the plagues he endured. He wrote privately in his journal, Meditations. not to perform for an audience, but to train himself. He used silence as a forge. He confided in his own reason, not in the crowd. And because he built in silence, he ruled with discipline. So here's your practice, the blackout window. Each morning from 8 a.m. to noon, no posts, no updates, no declarations. 4 silent hours where you don't tell the world what you'll do, you simply do it. Replace outreach with output. Replace noise with focus. Your metric 20 deep sessions in a month. Track your reclaimed hours and you'll discover something shocking. Silence buys you 80 to 100 extra hours every single month. That's 2 full work weeks recovered simply by shutting your mouth and opening your focus. History proves the point. Nikola Tesla worked in obsessive silence for years while Edison shouted every invention to the press. Edison won attention. Tesla built the future. Or think of Warren Buffett, who spends 80% of his day in quiet reading, compounding his insight until his net worth passed $100 billion. Noise creates drama. Silence compounds results. Anchor this mantra. Mystery is greater than monologue. You don't need to narrate every step of your journey. Let your results do the talking. When you move in silence, your life becomes the story others can't stop asking about. And here's the deeper truth: silence protects momentum. Noise invites friction. Every time you share too early, you invite critics who haven't built what you're building. Their doubts infect your discipline. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Silence shields you from premature judgment. So try this. This week, set your blackout window. Write your goals privately. Journal your progress. Share nothing until it's undeniable. Notice how much faster your work compounds when no one interrupts your blueprint. Notice how light it feels when you don't owe anyone an explanation. Remember this: lions don't announce they're hunting. They just hunt. The Stoic doesn't broadcast ambition. He embodies it. And when you master silence, you'll discover something even greater: solitude. Because Rule 9 shows us why being alone is not emptiness, but the most powerful training ground of all. Rule 9. Solitude as strength alone doesn't mean lonely. The Stoics saw solitude not as absence, but as presence. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, nowhere is there a quieter retreat than in one's own soul. While the crowd runs toward noise, the Stoic retreats inward, discovering that silence is a forge and solitude is strength. Here's the paradox: most people fear being alone because it forces them to meet themselves. That's why they drown in distractions, scrolling, streaming, surrounding themselves with chatter. But solitude is not punishment. It is privilege. It gives you space to hear your own voice above the roar of the world. History proves it. Nikola Tesla walked alone at night, sketching the ideas that would light entire cities. Beethoven wandered in solitude, composing symphonies in his head. And Marcus Aurelius, between battles, wrote his meditations alone, in his tent, private words that became timeless philosophy. Solitude is the womb of creation. And here's why it matters: solitude concentrates energy, while distraction scatters it. Psychologists call it attention residue. Every time you switch between conversations, feeds, or messages, you lose up to 20% of your focus. That means a single quiet hour can be more powerful than 3 noisy ones. So here's your drill walking counsel. Every day, take a 20-minute walk alone. No music, no podcasts, no phone. Just you and your thoughts. At the end, capture one reflection or one clear decision in a quick voice note. Your metric is simple: 7 notes per week. Do this for 30 days and you'll have over 30 distilled insights, your own personal library of wisdom. Steve Jobs understood this. He was famous for walking meetings, knowing that solitude in motion produces clarity. And Stanford studies back him up: walking boosts creative output by up to 60%. Add silence to that walk and you unlock a cognitive weapon few people ever touch. Anchor the mantra: build where no one claps. Because growth doesn't need an audience, it needs commitment. When you can sit with yourself without distraction and without applause, you stop needing permission. You stop chasing validation. You become self-sufficient. Here's your application this week: block 1 solitude slot per day. Guard it like a meeting with yourself. Use it for journaling, for a walk, or for undisturbed reading. Track how long you spend stuck in indecision and watch it shrink, because solitude sharpens clarity. Remember, an oak tree standing alone on a hill grows deeper roots than one sheltered in a forest. Solitude is not isolation, it is independence. It is the training ground where you become so strong, so focused, so disciplined, that when the world finally looks your way, you don't need to explain yourself. You've already become undeniable. And that brings us to the final piece, Rule 10, where we tie everything together and show you how to become undeniable in life, not through noise, not through talk, but through proof carved in action. Rule 10, become undeniable. There comes a moment when silence transforms into a roar, not because you spoke louder, but because your work became impossible to ignore. This is the essence of Rule 10, become undeniable. Marcus Aurelius captured it perfectly. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Obstacles are not signs to quit. They are invitations to persist. And when you persist long enough, the world stops asking who you are because your results already answer the question. Greatness doesn't shout. Greatness compounds. Think of bamboo hidden underground for 5 years, building unseen strength before shooting up 90 feet in 6 weeks. Most people would call those 5 years failure. The Stoic calls it preparation. The Stoic doesn't demand instant applause. He trusts in the silent compounding of effort. Why does this matter so much? Because loud ambition attracts envy, doubt distraction. Quiet execution creates inevitability. Harvard research shows that people who publicly announce their goals are far less likely to achieve them because they feel rewarded too early. Meanwhile, those who grind in silence complete more than 70% of their objectives. The difference, proof over performance. So here's your drill, the nightly 3. Before bed, write down 3 reflections. Virtue lived today, virtue missed today, 1 correction for tomorrow, 5 minutes, 90 lessons in a month. That is your self-authored proof of progress. Your metric is simple, 21 reflections in 30 days equals a pass. Bonus if one habit trends upward in measurable growth. History proves this. Kobe Bryant became legendary not because of his speeches, but because of his unseen hours. 4 a.m. gyms, silent sweat, no cameras, no applause. And yet years later, those hidden mornings became undeniable. 5 championships, 2 Olympic gold medals, a legacy of relentless discipline. He didn't talk about Mamba mentality, he lived it. Anchor the mantra, be so real you don't need to be loud. Because when results arrive, they carry gravity. They speak with a voice no announcement can match. Practical application, stop tracking applause. Start tracking effort. Journal your reps, your hours, your habits. After 90 days, review the evidence. You'll see growth patterns no one else notices. And when results finally surface, whether in your career, your craft, or your character, you won't need to convince anyone. Proof is self-evident. Remember, the Stoics didn't write for recognition. Marcus Aurelius never meant meditations to be published. It was his private training journal. And yet, centuries later, his words echo louder than any public speech he ever gave. Why? Because truth, discipline, and quiet mastery outlive noise. So here is your charge: stop performing. Start transforming. Stop chasing applause. Start stacking effort. Let others post. Let others argue. You will build. Brick by brick, rep by rep, reflection by reflection. Until you are undeniable. Because when the world finally notices, it won't be because you shouted. It will be because your work thundered in silence. If this message struck something deep, don't just not declare it. Type it out, I build in silence. Let it be your commitment, not to me, not to the crowd, but to yourself. And don't keep it, share this with the loud hustler, the one who measures success in noise instead of results. Maybe it wakes them up. Maybe it doesn't. Either way, you've done your part. This channel, Making Life Better, is not about hype. It's about ancient wisdom sharpened into modern discipline. Marcus Aurelius didn't waste time posting his intentions. He forged his life line by line in a private journal. That's the standard. If you're ready to stop performing and start forging, subscribe now. Because the world doesn't reward noise, it rewards proof. Quiet persistence builds undeniable strength, and strength once revealed never needs an introduction.